St. Augustine to Michigan, held my breath, said a prayer. All those people waiting there, I've been searching so long. It lived in me all along. Burn me in the desert and drown me in the rain. Throw me to the thunder, push me over the flame. I don't feel afraid anymore. I'm a warrior. Bright lights, sharing tears, thanking grace for bringing us all here. It ain't lonely on the road when there's love everywhere you go. I've been searching so long. It lived in me all along. Burn me in the desert and drown me in the rain. Throw me to the thunder, push me over the flame. I don't feel afraid anymore. I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior. We are warriors. Burn me in the desert and drown me in the rain. Throw me to the thunder, push me over the flame. I don't feel afraid anymore. I'm a warrior.
Good morning, afternoon, wherever you're located on this fine day. Welcome all my relations. I'm Bernice UP Jordan. I'm a citizen of the Fort Peck Sioux Nation, Public Health Program Manager, Office of Tribal Public Health at the United South and Eastern Tribes. Next slide. I'm going to talk a little bit of audience participation tips. We are building a community. Please introduce yourself in the chat, select everyone, and let your fellow participants know your name, tribal nation, affiliation, job title, and organization. Important that we value your partnership, and most importantly, for your attendance records, we need accurate data. If you're able, please change your name in the Zoom as well. Everyone will be muted until the audience feedback portion of the hour. During that segment, use the raise my hand icon in Zoom, and the host will unmute you to offer your reflection. You will receive a link of the recording and presentation by the end of the week. Next slide. This activity is jointly provided by the United South and Eastern Tribes and Cardia Services. Cardia Services is approved as a provider of nursing continuing professional development by the Montana Nurses Association, an accredited approver with distinction by the American Nurses Credentialing Center Commission on Accreditation. This activity has been planned and implemented in accordance with the accreditation requirements and policies of the California Medical Association through the joint partnership of CARDIA and USET. CARDIA is accredited by the CMA to provide continuing medical education for physicians. Next slide. Upon completing this activity, you will receive 1 contact hour. Successful completion of this continuing education activity will include attending the entire CE activity, completing the online evaluation. It'll be available at the conclusion of the meeting in the chat, and it'll be available for 2 weeks after the event. Your certificate will be sent via email. If you have any questions about the CE activity, please contact Haley Abila at habila@cardiaservices.org. So we will send you the link as well. Next slide. Disclosures. There are no relevant financial relationships with ineligible companies for those involved with the ability to control the content of this activity. Next slide. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Holly Echohawk to introduce you to our next speaker. There you go, Holly.
Okay. Hi there, everybody. Hey, thank you for joining. This is so cool to see you all again this month. And want to give a special shout out to Chief Paul. Very happy to see you. We are worried about you because you're on every month and from New Hampshire, and we're just so honored to have you back with us. And I think there was a little bit of challenge in getting the link, but glad to see you back. And I see folks from Montana, Detroit, Choctaw Nation, Billings area office, Minnesota, Anchorage, Osage Nation, good folks from Veterans Administration, which is really important. So welcome to everybody, and we have a great treat for you again today. But before we go to Sassafras Earth Education, I just wanted to say that Ray Zaragoza, who's 27 years old, I believe, she's very young, another great example of native brilliance, right? So we hope you enjoy the music, and we have a special treat for you at the end of the presentation. But I'm going to turn it over to our good friends from Sassafras Earth Education, David and his daughter Nanawi, and they have going to share some information with you all about their tribe, about their land, and their Sassafras Earth Education program. So I will turn it over to both of them.
Katavatash, Holly Echohawk, much appreciated. Natasuis David Nisu Kwankatash Vanderhoop Nutai Aquanahanat Nompi Natasuis, my daughter Nanawi, will be speaking in a minute. And I am so grateful to be here with you all today. I'm also grateful for living here on Wampanoag territory. I'm really, really thankful for my friends out on the land, the birds and the trees, the grasses and flowers that are returning and showing up this springtime. I'm thankful for the Wampanoag people that live here as well as on the mainland, from Boston to Western Massachusetts to Narragansett down in Rhode Island. I'm thankful for all of the native people of Turtle Island. I'm thankful that we are still here. I'm thankful for the spirit that lives in all things. And I want to acknowledge the genocide and the erasure. I want to acknowledge that we are still here. And I'll pass that on to my daughter, Nanawi.
Cha, everybody. Natasuis Nanawi Aquina Hanat Wampanoag. My name is Nanawi, and I am from the Aquina Wampanoag tribe on the island of Nompi. And I would like to start with our first slide, please. So, as Many of us know gratitude is an extremely important practice across Indigenous cultures all over the world. It is a way of life, a daily ceremony, and a reminder of our relationship with all living beings. Gratitude helps us stay grounded in reciprocity, respect, and humility. It brings us back to balance and right relation with the earth and with each other. Ever since I was a baby, I remember sitting around or standing with my family, holding hands and going around and sharing the things that we were all grateful for. And these moments created deep unity and connection, bringing us into one heart and one mind and one spirit. Let's all take a moment of silence right now to think about something that we're grateful for. Let yourself feel the energetic shift that happens inside your body when you give gratitude, your breath, your heart, your spirit. How does it make you feel inside? And how does that radiate outwards? This is a very powerful and significant practice, and I've witnessed again and again how deeply it affects mental health, not only within myself and my family, but also within the youth and adults that we work with in our programs. Gratitude is medicine. It's simple, ancient, and it's always available. And I'll pass that back to my dad.
Okay, next slide, please. Why we're here. Reconnecting to traditional knowledge and land-based practices in addressing mental health challenges is so important because it is addressing the root of where we come from. These ways of being carry the wisdom, resilience, and relational balance that sustain our ancestors for generations. By returning to these roots, we begin to heal not just the symptoms, but the deeper wounds of disconnection, colonization, and cultural loss. Our parents, if we take a moment, our parents were set in this system and they focused on survival. And a lot of that disconnection just was just not it was not like talked about in my family. Today, Sassafras is an integral part of the community that has stood the test of time because of the same resilience that sustained our ancestors. Using our innate knowledge to balance survival and joy through earth connection, working side by side, is part of our brilliance. Next slide, and I'll pass that back to Nanawi.
So, the power of traditional knowledge and land connection, why this matters so much. Disconnection from land and culture is not just a spiritual loss. It has measurable impacts on mental health. When people are separated from their ancestral ways of being, the result is often trauma, loss of identity, substance abuse, and cycles of harm that echo through generations. These struggles aren't just personal. They're symptoms of larger systematic and historical wounds that continue to affect Indigenous, Black, and Brown communities today. I want to talk a little bit about genocide and terrorism. The attempted erasure of Indigenous peoples through violence and displacement and disease was not just a historical moment. It was a centuries-long campaign that continues on today. The psychological impact of genocide lives on through intergenerational trauma, grief, and disconnection from cultural roots and land. The weaponization of laws. Colonial governments have used legal systems to steal lands, sever family ties through boarding schools and child welfare systems and many other ways to criminalize cultural practices and limit self-determination. These systems continue to disproportionately target and harm Native and marginalized communities. Now I want to talk a little bit about assimilation and cultural suppression. Through the forced assimilation, such as boarding schools, bans on ceremonies, language erasure, and legal prevention of practicing our cultures, people were stripped of their identity, stories, and spiritual grounding. This disconnection from cultural knowledge and belonging contributes to the epidemic levels of depression, addiction, and suicide that we see today. I want to give you guys a few statistics that I came up with, or not that I came up with, but that my research found. Native Indigenous people in America report experiencing serious psychological distress 2.5 more than the general population over a month's time. This is from Mental Health America. 19.7 of Native American and Alaska Native adults report experiencing serious psychological distress, while Native people only make up 2% of the US population, also from Mental Health America. Indigenous people in the US die by suicide at higher rates than any other racial or ethnic group, from Oregon Capital Chronicle. The suicide death rate for Native Indigenous people in America between the ages of 15 to 19 is more than double of that of white individuals, from Mental Health America again. 8.3 of Indigenous adults reported heavy alcohol use in the past month. During the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, drug overdose deaths rose 39% among Native Indigenous people and Alaska Native populations. These statistics underscore the importance of culturally responsive mental health services and the integration of traditional Indigenous practices to address these disparities. I want to talk a little bit about epigenetics and intergenerational trauma. Science now affirms what we've known, Indigenous people have always known. Trauma is carried in the body and passed down through generations. The stress of colonization, racism, and cultural loss can alter how genes are expressed, impacting not only mental health, but physical health and overall life outcomes. So, when we understand these realities, it becomes very clear. Reconnecting with the land, ceremony, and traditional knowledge is not just a cultural act. It is an act of survival. It's an act of resilience, and it's an act of healing. It is how we reclaim our brilliance and walk forward with strength. And I'll pass that back on to my dad. You're
David,
muted.
you're muted.
Thank you.
I'm sure it was all brilliant, but you might want to start over.
That's right. That's right. I'd like to interject just a little story that I'm familiar with at this time, and then I will move into the next slide. We can just sit right here. So that native brilliance, that tradition, that space that our ancestors were really familiar with and are beginning to actually like move toward strengthening right now. So not too long ago, that's within my lifetime, and I'm 70 years old. Um, a um, um, a young woman um, that talked to her elder. They lived near a river, and that river had been polluted, and the um, and they tried to work it back to being sustainable, so that you could actually try to drink the water. So they were working on that, and she talked about that with her elder, and so the water became clear again. And she asked her elder, well, the river's clear again, but still there are, my relations are not coming back. The fish have not returned yet. And the elder gave her a song and told her to sing that song, go to the river and stand in that river and sing that song. And she did it. She actually did that. Time and time again, every day, she did that. Over a year's time went by and they still hadn't returned, but she was, persevered. And every day she'd go down and sing that song, standing in the river. And yes, the fish, one day the fish did return. And so this knowledge that we have inside of us is a, is real and is carried on throughout the generations, is my point. And today, amongst all of the chaos that's happening, we need to reach deep down inside of us, every single one of us, to put an understanding and an intention that we will continue our pathway in bringing this knowledge, our ways back, in order for not only us to survive, but it's in order for the species to survive at this point. If you can just open up, and open your eyes to what is happening. And so I'll move through the slide now, and the connection. Indigenous land-based healing strengthens mental resilience and overall well-being by restoring relationships with the land, with our ancestors, with community, and with ourselves. These practices offer a pathway to healing that addresses emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental dimensions in a world that often disconnects us from our nature and our bodies. Land-based healing grounds us in purpose, belonging, and the cycles of life that remind us we are never alone. Some of those examples are plant medicine, understanding the way that we do. Plant intelligence is what our people have known and practiced. And today, Western science is finally catching up with us now. And understanding every disease has a cure in the natural world that Mother Earth provides for us. Ceremony. Ceremony scales up participants in healing exponentially. Storytelling and oral traditions, they create the image of our experience that keeps alive our brilliance. That's why it's so necessary for our people to continue that so that we never forget and have something to go back to in times of like today. Following the seasonal rhythms and cycles of our mother, the earth, and it, I, I never, when I was young, I didn't have that perspective. But as I get older, I mean, just look around us today in spring, being able to look outside and be inspired about what is to come is what we need to inspire in our youth and families that are just, in this colonized system and blinded in that way that it happens because we need to survive. And sitting outside, meditating, if you will, um, this sitting mindfulness practices that we've done for millennia, being able to hear oneself in a time of doubt and questions is paramount in these times of chaos. Next slide, please. So, restoring native ways of being, living in balance with our gifts and responsibilities. Recognizing our individual gifts gives us purpose and confidence to wake up each day and move through life with strength. These gifts, whether they are ways of seeing, creating, nurturing, listening, protecting, or healing, are not random. They're giving us, they're given to us by spirit, by our ancestors, by the land itself. When we recognize and honor them, we begin to walk with clarity, direction, and a sense of belonging to something that is greater than us. That is so important to instill in our people, today and beyond. Without that recognition, without understanding the medicine you carry and how you are meant to share it, you can feel like you're floating in an ocean of chaos, just going from here to there with, on a whim, disconnected, overwhelmed, unsure of why you're here or where you're going. Each of us has a role, a purpose, and a light we are meant to carry into this world. When we live in alignment with our gifts, even the hardest days have meaning. Even the pain becomes part of the path. I want you to just sit with that just for a second. Helping others and ourselves remember and reclaim those gifts is part of the healing. It is how we begin to restore balance, direction, and dignity in a world that often tries to strip us of those very things. It just is how, in this day and age, that we have to look at things because it is important to remember and recall. who we are. Our work is collective healing in motion, rooted in the land, lifted by laughter, and carried by commitment. This is native brilliance, resilience, relational, and real. Next slide.
So, integrating traditional indigenous teachings into your work, bridging the old and the new. Mental health professionals have a powerful opportunity to weave indigenous land-based wisdom into contemporary therapeutic approaches. These traditional practices, rooted in relationship, rhythm, and reverence, have sustained our communities for millennia. By honoring them alongside modern methods, we open a more soul-connected pathway to healing that addresses not only just the symptoms, but it addresses spirit, it addresses story, and it addresses belonging, which is so important to us as Native people, as you know, and important to the world over. It means recognizing that healing is not one size fits all, and that deep, lasting wellness must include reconnection to land, culture, and to our communities. Let's talk a little bit about the practical steps for integration. Encourage connection to nature. Guide clients in developing a personal relationship with the natural world through sitting in nature, nature walks, and mindful outdoor practices. These experiences regulate the nervous system. We've seen this time and time again, where children come in and they get really upset. They have a lot of anxiety, and they throw tantrums and they get so upset. But as we see them going through our programs, we see them release that anxiety and find belonging and find a sense of strength and find a sense of connection to their spirit and their purpose of being in their youthfulness and learning. And these experiences not only regulate the nervous system, but they restore a sense of peace, and they remind us that we're part of something greater. Bring awareness to ancestral roots. Support clients, especially those who are Black, Brown, and Indigenous, in exploring their cultural lineage, inherited strength, and the historical and intergenerational traumas that may be shaping their current struggles. Reconnecting with identity can be a powerful act of reclamation and resilience. Use storytelling and indigenous frameworks for resilience. Incorporate traditional stories, metaphors, and teachings as a tool for growth and transformation. For example, the story that my dad gave about the woman bringing the fish back with the song. Practice gratitude and set intentions. Encourage clients to incorporate gratitude as a daily ritual, expressing thanks for the earth, for their breath, for the small moments of beauty, and for anything they feel gratitude towards in the moment. Pair this with intention setting practices that reflect Indigenous ways of aligning with purpose and spirit. These rituals create a foundation of balance, clarity, and forward movement. I know every day I wake up, even before I open my eyes, I give thanks and I set my intentions for the day, and it helps me so much. Build partnerships with Indigenous elders and knowledge keepers. Foster relationships with community leaders who carry traditional knowledge. Their guidance ensures cultural respect, supports authenticity, and opens doors to collaborative healing practices rooted in land, lineage, and ceremony. Support land-based and experiential programs for healing and recovery. Advocate for programs that happen outdoors, in gardens, on the land, or near water. Spaces where people can reawaken their senses, reconnect with ancestral rhythms, and engage in embodied relational healing.
Thank you. Thank you, Nanawi. I would like to just interject here. Um, I've been at this for over 20 years now and have developed this like educational system that really reconnects not just the youth, but adults and families to back to their roots and the earth, but more importantly, to themselves as individuals. And that's what I see lacking today is that connection to themselves and how important um, um, you all as professionals, um, like I also probably, I don't know you individually, but how you move through your day in giving what you have and your knowledge to those people who are out there, to us, to our people who are out there that are that are like trying to get to a place where they feel good about themselves. And I see time and time again. And it doesn't take a like days or weeks or months or years. When people go outside and you ask the right questions and you give them the opportunity to speak, to from within them their own selves, that is the key to our people coming back. And I see the difference. I see the difference in excuse me, but I see the difference in the non-native people and the native people in my line of work, how they are able to grasp, what I like tell them and ask questions about being outside and seeing what they're seeing versus, the non-natives that like kind of are, I think are used to like, and I'll put this, having the drag and brag, having the answers given to them, in a way that, most of the time they don't remember it. But our people need to be connected back to where we came from, and the land will do that. I've been doing this, like I said, for 20 years, and I see it. I've experienced those children that the schools label as, hey, he must be ADHD or this or that, or he can't sit down, or he's disruptive, and he just, there's no getting to him. I see it all the time, but when they come to Sassafras Earth Education and I get them outside and I see that gift that they want to give back, that they want to say something, and have squashed time and time again in this educational system that we're in, I see that. and I give them a chance. I give them a chance to tell their own story. And they are uplifted by that each and every time. And they want to come back, and they want to learn, and they want to help. Not only do they want to learn, but they want to help. They want to give their, themselves to, to what we're doing out here on the land, no matter what it is, whether we're, getting rid of invasive species, whether they're gathering, the briars and the wood and the this for the make the fires. They want to be helpful, and yet they're not given that opportunity in this system. So keep that in mind when families come to you, or when you're dealing with families, and this, it's the listening, it's the being able to ask the right questions. As you all probably already know, but I'm saying in my 20 years of experience, that that is one of the most important things besides sitting and becoming, understanding your own self and how you fit into this big picture is what we need to get back to as Native people. I appreciate you all listening to me, and I really hope that we have, both me and my daughter, have given you some food for thought. And I would say that, one other just thing, um, we were really just like in a situation where I was thrust into this whole damn colonial system, and I wasn't making it. So we had to live on the land. I was donated a teepee, and me, my wife, my daughter, and my two sons lived in a teepee for 7 years, year round, in the Northeast. And the first year we moved in was the coldest winter on record in Massachusetts. We survived. So, but we, and not but, and we got connected with the land, and we decided that we were going to start this educational system, and give back. So it's a learned experience that I come from, that we come from, to try to give back to you and our community. And I'll turn that back over to Nanawi.
Thank you. Yeah, when we finally finished rebuilding our house, as my dad was saying about the story, when we moved back in, I continuously asked my mom and my dad, hey, when can we move back into the teepee? When can we move back into the woods? Because I don't really like this house living. Yeah, it was such a beautiful way to grow up, and it really made me into the person who I am today. So I give all honor to Mother Earth and my ancestors and Creator and the spirit that moves through all things. And in closing, I would like to ask a reflection question to everybody. How can I bring Indigenous land-based healing into my practice or into my community? Take a moment to sit with this. What's already inside of you? What are you being called to remember or reconnect with? A simple practice. Begin with one small step. Start each day with gratitude as soon as you wake up, maybe even before you open your eyes. And sit outside for 20 minutes a day. Listen, observe, feel the earth beneath you. This quiet act of presence is a doorway to deeper connection, insight, and healing. And we would like to ask everybody give them an invitation to continue the journey, just like we're doing every day. We invite you to keep walking this path with us, explore resources, seek out community, and stay open to learning from the land and from each other. Healing is a collective work, and let's all walk it together. Thank you so much. Could go to the very last slide, please.
Yes, this is us. Sassafras Earth Education.org. If you have any questions, the number's there, and check out our website. Thank you very much. Next slide. So some of our experiences here living on the island. We take youth and adults out. We have a traditional home, a vessel called a wichu that we constructed last year. We do ceremony. Of course, on the island, sometimes it takes place on the beach. Sometimes it takes inside the wichu as I'm lighting fire there. And you know, we always listen. We always listen to the spirit that live within. The stones have, you know, actually talked to me as well. Next slide, please. So we carry on this harvesting, coming together in spirit and in joy. We really respect where we are, where we come from, and the land in turn really gives back as we understand that it does. Is there one more slide? Ah, yes, indeed. So through games, oh my, we play a lot of games here. Uh, you know, and that whole, you know, we have to create that laughter. We have to have fun because, you know, that's just the way we are. We do a lot of cooking. We do a lot of, you know, exchanges here. We have a lot of water that surrounds us. And thank goodness, thank our Creator that it is pure water, that I still drink from the streams. Yeah, and the birds respect me too, right there. There's one on my hat. So anyway, we do a lot of things um, to actually get us all connected, and it it works, man. It is just a process that the people who come here year after year, and if they only come for a weekend or a week or a few days, whatever it is, they they come up to me and say that those moments give them perspective enough that changes their life. So, katawatanamu to you all for listening, and I hope everything is that you're intending to get out of this happened.
Thank you, David. And thank you, Nanawi. And I want to tell you, Nanawi, that I really appreciate when you first started, you talked about gratitude is mental health, mental wellness. So thank you for that. And then you mentioned epigenetics, which is true in science. However, there's also studies of the opposite. It's not just trauma that is in the epigenetic generational passed down resilience. There's epigenetic studies on the opposite, the positive things, the native people that is passed down generations. So I always want to balance the negative with the positive. So just wanted to mention that. So now I'm going to turn it over to Livia Davis, our good colleague and friend, and she is going to bring us back to some audience reflections.
Thank you so much. It was just incredibly inspiring and insightful. Thank you. And Nanawi, I love that you left us with some reflections as part of your presentation. And one of the follow-up questions I have for our audience is if they have examples of how they incorporate the land into any work they're doing now in prevention or treatment or recovery services. And if you do, we'd love to hear from you. We also would love to hear any reflection you might have, just that we could share with our presenters. We have just a couple of moments for that.
You come offline and just speak.
Yeah, you could come online, just speak. And I think I forgot to introduce myself, but I did in the chat. So again, I'm just calling in as a Chief Learning Officer at C4 Innovations, part of this team. So let's see. How do you help people become aware of the stories they tell? This is a question from Gary Jader, because stories have enormous power. They not only describe the world in which we live, but create it. So the other comment from Gary is that stories can help, but they can also hurt. So how do you help people become aware of the stories they tell? And either David or Nanawi, are you welcome to please answer if you have any reflections on that.
Okay, can you repeat that, Livia, please?
Yes. So Gary Jader is saying in the chat, he says, stories have enormous power. They not only describe the world in which we live, but create them. Stories can help, but they can also hurt. How do you help people become aware of the stories they tell?
Mm, mm. Indeed, because I really feel you, Gary, in that, because of today, people just they have just this ability just go on and talk about, anything that comes into their head. And it's up to us. It's really up to us to make aware what is appropriate and what is not. Um, I mean, just like in a marriage, how that emotional connectivity that we have comes into play in the situation. Um, because um, a lot of people, not just Native people, a lot of people today do not understand the emotional connection that they're putting out. And they're not taught that. And so how do you make the people become aware of the stories that they tell, that they may, it may be inappropriate? Well, we have this training that we call Indigenous Awareness Training, because we deal with that on a daily basis, because we are only 2% of the population. We deal with that on a daily basis. And so we need to put up our shields, whatever we have to do to get through the days, because it is not within the mentality of our being and where we are, where we are working, if we have to deal with, even in our intertribally, that situation of that awareness is it doesn't exist because of the colonized mentality that we're all in. I mean, I admit it, I'm in it too. But in order to become aware of that, you need to be bold enough to create a boundary, and just do that in a good way or whatever way you have to. But you have to create that boundary and make them people aware.
I'd like to briefly say as well that connection to self and sitting in meditation, like we were describing, sitting outside and yeah, that connection to self can bring more awareness to the things that we say, to the actions that we take, and to, the things that we put out that might be either uplifting people or hurting other people. So I think that in that, yeah, that meditation and that self-awareness can really help with people who might be, just saying things just to say them, or saying things that might be hurtful or painful. Just asking them, hey, um, you know, kind of go into yourself internally and imagine if you were on the other side of the coin, or you were in the other person's shoes. How would you feel if these things were said to you? Would you feel good, or would they make you feel hurt? Would they be painful to you? So that's what I would say.
Thank you, Nanawi. And David, your reference to colonization is a perfect segue for our next month's presentation. So we're going to tell you all about that again. And thank you again, both of you. And this is a kind of a moment of acknowledgement for the Reclaiming series, because you all are the first time we've had a father-daughter as sharing their perspectives with us. So you are making history in the Reclaiming series, and I just want to acknowledge that. And I'm sure you're, David, very proud of Nanawi, and I'm sure Nanawi is very proud of you as her father. So thank you all for joining us today. So let's see, let's go back over to Bernice, I believe, is going to give you some information on our audience information.
So there is, if you go to this link, you could use this QR code. You can scan it with your phone and you can go to the evaluation. You will get a certificate of completion, certificate of continuing medical education, certificate of continuing nursing education, certificate of counseling, continuing education, or social work certificate. If you have any questions about any of these, just email one of us at these emails. We will also send you the link via email as well, and you will also receive the link right when you click out of the when you sign off of this Zoom. Next slide. Also join us next month for Scientific Mindedness and Clinical Cultural Denial from Jeff King. I don't know if you want to say any more about this, Holly.
I do. Thank you. And Jeff King is a tribal psychologist. He's one of our good friends, and he's part of our clinical team for the design and thinking about the Reclaiming series. He's one of our favorite, the audience's favorite presenters. So he'll be with us next month, and he's going to talk about scientific mindedness and clinical cultural denial. Sounds like a lot, but what that means is the impact of colonization and science on the field of psychology and how people are trained, Native people are trained as clinicians, and the challenge that creates and the subtleness of cultural denialism in the field of the work that we do. So it's going to be a very interesting presentation. I know the title sounds a little complicated, but it'll be great. But I also want it to be, that's next month. So that would be May. And in June, hang on for another great treat. In June, we're going to focus Native Hawaiian hula. Hula is healing. And we have two wonderful speakers for that in June. And I'm very excited about that as well, because hula as dance and culture and healing is, and the history of hula they're going to share with us, which was fascinating because I didn't know some of that. It's really going to be great. So come back in May, come back in June, and continuing, of course, every month after that. So thank you again, David and Nanawi. And then I think the next slide, hula is life. That's right, Misty Carter. So now we're closing song, and guess who's singing? Nanawi. So we'll let her say something about her song before it starts.
So this song actually came to me. Funny enough, I didn't even connect these things, but while I was singing and dancing in a river out in Jamaica, and it was given to me by the spirit of the land. And as soon as I got done with what I was doing at the river, my little ceremony that I was, or not little, but the ceremony that I was having with the river, I got back to the studio, and my best friend brother, he had this beat and he played it for me, and I was like, oh man, the river just gave me a song and you made the beat for it, and now we're gonna record it. So that's the story of this song.
That's terrific. Well, and thank you, Lee, because it is also history making, the first time we featured a song from one of our speakers. So with that, we'll close out, and you all have a wonderful, brilliant day, and we'll listen to Nanawi, and that'll end us for today.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I just want to say you can find me on all platforms under my name, Nanauwe, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Instagram, everything, same name.
Thanks so much, Nanawi. That was really beautiful. And I just love your young energy. That's fabulous. Not that we don't all have energy, but you know, you're younger and we can tell, and it's wonderful. So thank you. And you have a lot of beautiful comments to you coming up in the chat.